This weekend on the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House.
Why making lists are overrated.
Why it's your job as a Bills fan to make sure your kid is a Bills fan.
And why one and done should be done.
And the shell game that is NFL free agency. The Brew House was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery. But the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewHouse.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. I'm Bill Pucko. Happy to be joined, as always, here by Pat Duffy from the Breakroom.
I miss you guys. Starting like end of the show all weekend long till we get here again. Great to see you.
Co-hosting Mike Catalana from
Good to
13
be
WHAM
back.
News.
Good to be back.
And your newest protege. It is
Yes.
our pleasure to be welcoming in Jenna Cottrell, who comes to Channel 13 Sports via Saratoga Springs, Syracuse University, and Elmira Television. It's a pleasure to have you aboard.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for welcoming.
You know, it strikes me that we haven't had a fully invested, full-time female sportscaster in Rochester, really, since Tracy Bush worked for you guys. And she was excellent. At the national level, it's almost 50-50. It's like there's a Title IX at the national level for female sportscasters. So you're like a breath of fresh air in this market. What do you bring to the profession?
Bring to the profession. I just think, like you were saying, it is basically 50-50 in the national media spotlight. But I think it's really interesting to see that there's so many more women now invested in those smaller markets. And I think, just like you guys, I bring a different background. You know, you guys are all different. I'm different. I think it's so important to have that in sports, having people that don't always have the same opinions be able to interject what they think and their values into the sport.
But more than Mike and I might disagree on something, I think really there is a female perspective that's just different.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. I mean, the way that not only I was raised, but just also being a female in general, I do see things a little bit differently. I think I might have a little bit more compassion than some of my fellow male counterparts. But yeah, look at that look. No, but just in general, I think it's good to have a diverse group of people talking about a diverse group of athletes.
What was the, if you don't mind my getting into like the hiring process, what were the things that impressed you?
You know, it's interesting. We hired Tracy. We hired Jenna. It just happens to be, no one at our station has ever said to me, on this job, we'd like to hire a woman for the job. Never said that. We knew of Jenna in Elmira. We knew of her work down there. Now, in this day and age, it's pretty easy to see somebody's work, click on links, see things live. We knew she was good at it. But most importantly, we knew she knew what she was talking about. And it's an interesting dynamic for a woman in sports because they have to constantly tell everybody that they know enough about it. Now, the truth is, she knows a lot about sports. She'll be absolutely fine in this setting and in the newscast. And I know a lot of guys that have been doing this job that really don't really know a whole heck of a lot, but they're given that benefit of the doubt because they happen to be a guy. And this is even against women who actually played and were involved in sports, and they still don't always get the benefit of the doubt that a guy does. And I think it was almost a non-factor. She's very good at her job, and she's going to fit in just fine.
Well, I got really excited when I saw they hired Jenna because I assumed that meant that Mike Catalana was leaving. It's not the case, but it's still pretty exciting that, you know.
Well, look, you work with Kim Burnson, who's a friend of the show, does the high school sports beat with us and stuff. That's a different dynamic, isn't it? A necessary dynamic.
Yeah. You know, Kim's, I don't know if odd bird is the way to put it, but Kim, she is just as competitive, and this is going to sound terrible the way I say it, but she's just one of the guys. Like when we hang out, she's just one of the guys. And I guess maybe it's me being younger. I don't know what it is. I never really looked at it weird that they would be female sports reporters or women that wanted to comment what was going on. Like the best is when we'll be talking about sports in the break room and a guy will call up and make a point and Kimmy will just drop a flying elbow on him because she watches all these games and she knows what she's talking about. You can't automatically assume because she's a woman that she doesn't know what she's talking about.
Like Tommy's going to know about the games.
Well, but he knows. He knows he doesn't know.
Right, that's what I'm saying is, but the perception would be like the guy is going to know.
Did you model your career out of against anybody, besides Pat, obviously?
For me, no. I just always grew up loving sports. And when I got to school, I kind of had a different approach to sports. So like I'd always grown up playing them, really enjoyed that. And actually when I was 13, my brother was 16, he was diagnosed with leukemia. So sports to me didn't just become, oh, like let's go play soccer. It was like, wow, I physically need this escape. So that turned into me watching sports, to me commentating on sports. So when I got to Syracuse, and I realized, wow, I was a psychology major when I went in because I loved meeting people and talking to people and hearing their stories. Then I realized it's a lot of math and science. So I figured, hey, what can I do? And sports reporting just seemed like the obvious niche for me to go. And I mean, it's just so much fun. I mean, even on a bad day of work, you're still covering sports that you love and watching athletes that are incredible.
Well, it's great to have you.
You see why I hired her?
I guess you do. We're going to talk about free agency in the NFL when the original Rochester Press Box continues. The Hillside family of agencies works with youth and families on their own terms, helping them pursue their own goals, whether at home, work, school, or one of the Hillside campuses, offering encouragement and commitment, standing with families, helping to create a healthy future. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House, and this portion of the Press Box is brought to you by the Hillside family of agencies. Mike pointed out to me that we neglected to mention Robin DeWind in our discussion of female sportscasters. I put Robin in a different class only because Robin came up as a professional broadcaster and handled everything that she did, really well. But Tracy was a pure sportscaster,
Yeah,
so I kind of
Tracy
separate
had
that.
done sports at Time Warner. Robin was a health reporter, news reporter, and then moved into that sports role at Channel 10.
Yeah, well, free agency. I always call it a shell game. Everybody's moving pieces around, and when you get a new piece, you think it's great, but the team that let him go didn't care. What have we accomplished so far this season?
It depends. I think Mario Williams is a really interesting case in this way. I think it's a big mistake by the Dolphins. I think he's a guy now towards the end. He's a guy who quit on his teammates. I mean, when guys actually say you quit in that locker room, that's pretty bad. But when the Bills signed him, I think it was a really good signing, and I think it helped him for 2 or 3 years. So sometimes you make those signings, and it's the kind of thing that lights up the league and go, hey, Buffalo's serious here. And other guys either signed there or wanted to stay there. Now you sign a guy like Mario Williams in a free agency if you're Miami, and you go, what are they doing here? This is a guy who did kind of quit. So I think it can be a dangerous thing. If you have a franchise where throwing big money at a guy makes every other guy go, why are they doing this? It's a bad thing. If it's, hey, they're serious and they're going to pay other people, then I think it can be a positive. Most of the time, signing big number free agents is a bad idea, unless it's your own guy.
Are the Buffalo Bills better now than they were?
Without Mario, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, signing Incognito and without Mario, they're absolutely a better team. So I did some math, no big deal. I'm really bad at math, so I don't know if this is going to be right. But I started breaking down Mario's numbers the other day, right? 20% of Mario's sacks as a Buffalo Bill in his best seasons, the 3, against Miami. So let's take 20% of his production away because now you're playing for that team, right? Okay, so now you're going to be playing the Patriots in that division, right? Mario, in those 3 best seasons, plays the Patriots 6 times. You know how many sacks he has against Tom Brady? 2. 2 sacks. So you're not going to disable the Patriots. The Bills have a mobile quarterback and a great run game, which neutralizes Mario Williams. So you're going to beat the Jets with an $8 million defensive end. Hey, way to go. That's great. Awesome.
I think teams remember that kind of thing, you know?
Oh, absolutely. But not even that. Like, talking about Miami, going back to the Sue contract as well, I know we were talking about it earlier, just the fact that they threw so much money at him, $114 million, 6-year contract. I know they just restructured it this year, but look at that return on their investment. They haven't seen that yet. And to be bringing in Mario Williams again, who literally was said by teammates to have quit on his team, that is when I think it gets a little bit dangerous because you're throwing money at people that are not willing, at least haven't shown that they're ready to commit.
Well, how about the general manager of the Dolphins, right? Sue, I'm going to throw a whole bunch of money, and it's going to end up being a defensive player that doesn't want to play for a coach and alienates his teammates. So what are we going to do next year? Let's throw some more money at a guy who doesn't want to play for a coach and alienates teammates.
So, and there is a way, though, to go about free agency. I think, honestly, while if you're a fan, you're sitting there on that first day going, what's my team doing? And then you see their competition do something. And there's naturally a part of you that goes, what are we waiting for? The good teams It's usually that second tier of guys, the guy that you go, wait a minute, this guy's going to fit in our locker room, he's going to fit in our salary structure, he can play, we're not disrupting everything, because the reality is, in that room, if I'm waiting for my contract, I'm going, I've been here doing this. Now you're going to bring this guy in over me. If it's a certain guy, and I think Mario was that guy at the time, I think it can be helpful. Otherwise, I think it's a big mistake.
It just strikes me how complex and difficult it is to build a football team, though.
It is, and the dynamic in that room is so important. Team I follow, the Eagles. Last year, spend, bring in all these guys. Disaster. Everyone, bad locker room fits, did not produce, and the guys in the room knew they were making all the money, and it was annoying. This year, they just tried to shed themselves of all those guys. Fortunately for them, a couple of those guys end up in Miami. Again, Byron Maxwell, a guy who's quit. It's not free agency technically, but it might as well be. They assume that contract. I think that's not a way to build a team, and I think it can really implode from the inside.
This portion of the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House, has been brought to you by the Hillside family of agencies. Like It or Not is next. As we go to break, it is time for the Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning Trivia Question of the Week. When you're searching for a local heating and air conditioning contractor, look no further than one of the most reliable teams in the area at Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning. Is called Turnbull at 343-2005.
And you don't need to be Native American to realize it is offensive. And it's not politically correct. It's the right thing to do.
He was an idiot for throwing him that pitch. The guy's phenomenal. He had no reason to give him anything, especially a fastball to hit.
It's simply that these two guys, Ronaldo and Tom Brady, are too good looking.
I like it, just don't admit to it.
Everybody wants to hate on the best in the world. You know, he's here to stay, and he wants to build something big time.
The bottom line is, still nobody's going to like A-Rod.
As we come back from the break, time for the answer to the Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning Trivia Question of the Week. When you're searching for a local heating and air conditioning contractor, look no further than one of the most reliable teams in the area at Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning. Just call 343-2005. See New York in a whole new way. Amtrak is offering a 15% discount for all travel inside New York State and to Montreal. Visit Amtrak.com for the See New York discount. Safe, comfortable, affordable, and easy. Amtrak. Enjoy the journey. Hello again. Thanks for joining us. This is the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House, and this portion of the Press Box brought to you by Amtrak Trains. Enjoy the journey. Pat, like it or not, Jaromir Jagr passes Gordie Howe on the all-time scoring list.
I mean, I hated Jaromir Jagr forever and ever. And now he's like a circus freak. I can't help but love watching him. Like, first of all, he's 137 years old, but he looks like he's 28. And he's so fun to watch. Like, I'm pretty sure he doesn't even wear shoulder pads at this point, right? It's awesome. I mean, you know, Howe's stats were padded by being able to play in a league for a long time that didn't have a lot of new stars coming in. Also, that nostalgia. There's no nostalgia for Jagr. He can still play, so he deserved it. He earns the points.
And eras, they don't equate the two. Gordie Howe, Jaromir Jagr?
No. And your point, though, is right. He plays regularly. He's phenomenal on the power play. He's in incredible shape. I mean, he's like a fitness freak. And he doesn't look like he's slowing. If he's used properly, he's still going to keep producing for them.
Well, the other thing about it, too, is it was way easier to score back when Howe was playing.
Yeah.
I mean, the points come so rarely nowadays. Jaromir Jagr, with the exception of Wayne Gretzky, might be the greatest hockey player we've ever seen play.
And looking into it, too, I mean, he's 44. He made his debut 26 years ago, but not even that. He left to the KHL.
Yeah.
The fact that he's been able to total all those points and he still left for, 2008, 2011, a couple of years, impressive.
Jenna, like it or not, Maria Sharapova gets suspended.
I think watching all the investors like Nike and all those people drop, I think they've been wanting to drop her for a while. I think they've been wanting to shed those massive contracts that she's had in terms of, sponsoring things. I still want to see a little bit more in terms of why she was on the drug, why she was prescribed. But the fact that, it's a performance-enhancing drug. She's been on it for so long.
Was there ever more of a shocked press conference? I mean, everyone knew Peyton Manning was the same day.
Right.
Oh, and Sharapova's going to have a press conference. You think she's retiring? There wasn't a hint of this.
No, and I don't know what to make. When I hear athletes play dumb, like they don't know, she knew what she was taking. I'm a little surprised that she continued taking it right after it came onto the banned list. What benefit she got out of it, I don't know. I don't pretend to know. What do you read? That like Russian soldiers were taking this for years to make them more effective. But there are things that people take that make you more effective that are not banned, and you can take it. It just came out. If you're an athlete, you have a million people working for you, you would know about this. And that's the part that surprised me. Playing a little dumb like, I must have missed the email is basically kind of what she said. That is more troubling than anything.
After Rocky IV, I automatically assume any athlete that comes out of Russia is taking something illegal, which is why Jaromir Jagr at 137 years old just passed Gordie Howe for third all-time on the points list.
And that connects to Maria?
Well, I mean, they're both
Russian.
Yeah, they're both Russians. I mean,
Okay,
come on.
It's Russian. She grew up in Florida.
Same thing. I don't know. They got drugs down there, too. Ask Alex Rodriguez.
You know what's the funny part about it? We started the show talking about female sportscasters. Because she's a woman, I found her more believable. Like, I didn't think a lot about this until the company started dropping her. It's like, oh my God, this is serious.
Well, in general, probably. You could probably believe more women than men because,
Speak for yourself, you dirty liar. Well, the interesting thing, too, is all of the outrage for this, when a month ago there was this massive match-fixing scandal in tennis. You have the top of top players being indicted in these match fixes that could have affected the whole sport for decades. One woman takes a drug that just showed up on a ban list and they're like, oh my God, this is terrible. Give me a break.
But I think Jenna's right. I think these companies were ready to go.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
She hasn't been relevant in a while.
Nike in 2 seconds was like, goodbye, and sent her packing.
Now we choose what we care about. This portion of the original Rochester Press Box has been brought to you by Amtrak Trains. Enjoy the journey. Unfinished Business is next. The Rochester Press Box Stat of the Week, brought to you by Cariglio's Pizza, with 5 locations serving the Rochester area. Visit carigliospizza.com today. Put more fun in your day with ice cream flavored coffees at Dunkin' Donuts. Go for delicious flavors like butter pecan, cookie dough, or new pistachio. Enjoy one today. America runs on Dunkin'. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. This portion of the Press Box brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Unfinished business. Pat, do it.
So last week we find out that the Buffalo Bills, again, somehow have sold out their season tickets, right? 52,000 people. And I'm not worried about Bills fans now. I'm worried about Bills fans 15 to 20 years from now, because in the 16, 17-year gap that we haven't made the playoffs, there has been a whole generation of human beings born, right? I was born in 1986, which means I got to live through all the Bills' glory Super Bowl years and all the playoffs and all that stuff, and it was great, and that got me hooked. No kid between the ages of 0 and 18 years old has ever seen the Bills go to the playoffs, which means, theoretically, in 15 years from now, that list of 52,000 people that are wanting to line up and see the Bills could shrink significantly. That's the biggest problem about this playoff draw. Not the fact we haven't gotten to see our team play or we haven't had a number of superstars. It's that in 10, 15 years, there could be no Bills fans left. And it could hurt them at the gate, it could hurt them jersey-wise, and it could hurt us as a region, because really, that's what we have here, our football and our hockey teams. So I'm, for one, worried, not next season who's going to the games, but 10, 15 years from now, how the Ralph or whatever new stadium they have is going to look.
You know, it's even worse because most people aren't getting engaged with football by the age of 5, like you claim to have been usually like 12 or 13 and stuff. So that's another. I've worried about that for a long time. It's anybody under the age of 30 hasn't experienced this.
No, they haven't. It's a playoff game or a playoff season or doing well.
Well, let me put it this way. Kenneth Davis is one of my favorite Bills of all time. Kenneth Davis could have been a starter on 9 of those playoff teams of the last 15 years. You got no one to cheer for.
Jenna.
All right, my unfinished business is the fact that the sports industry is obsessed with ranking people. Who was the best? Who was the worst? Here's my thing. There are so many great players. Sit back and appreciate and just watch. Is LeBron better than Michael Jordan? I don't care, because I like to watch everyone. And it's so fun to see LeBron in his prime. Talking about Steph Curry, looking at him emerging. And I'm not even talking about just in basketball either. Looking at football. So Eli Manning has 2 Super Bowl wins. So does his brother. So are they equal? No. Clearly, Peyton is a little bit better, but still, it's fun to watch and appreciate the greatness that is sports. Stop trying to rank.
We're compulsive list makers. It's like Rocky IV is the best Rocky, right?
Well, it's the second best Rocky. Rocky III is the best Rocky. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
I don't think you can cure that. I think we're just destined to do it.
What was the under-over on Rocky mentions in this show coming in?
Well, we beat it.
Yeah, well, we're way over. Ben Simmons is a basketball player from LSU, might be the best player in the country, expected to be the #1 pick. He's also another one of those one-and-done guys. And Ben Simmons, like a lot of guys in those circumstances, doesn't really seem to care very much about going to class these days. And his grade point average had dropped down to the point where his coach benched him for several minutes in a game. And the coach has been getting criticism for it, and Simmons has too, but I kind of look at it and think of it this way. It is a flawed system, absolutely flawed. The one and done thing should be done. And here's what should happen in college basketball. If you are good enough to come out of high school and go to the NBA, you should be able to go. If you commit to playing at a college, university level, you should commit, I think, to 3 years, but 2 years would probably at least make it a little bit better. That would force that athlete, if you want to choose college, to actually go to class. But I laugh and I hear people rip into the coach and say, how do you not make this kid go to class and do his work? Most of the people saying that can't get their 7th grader to do their math homework, yet they think an adult coach with a player who is ready to make millions can be convinced to do that. What are you going to do? Kick him off the team? He's headed to the NBA next year. It's a flawed system. One and done needs to be done. Stop making a joke of the academic part. If he's good enough to go to the NBA, he should have been able to go right out of high school.
It's the baseball model, and it works there.
It has worked. I don't understand. It's because we love college basketball. We want these guys to go there. If they're going to choose it, it should be for a few years.
Very good. This portion of the original Rochester Press Box brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Pat, thank you very much. Good job as always.
You guys.
In the Channel 13 corner of the room, Mike.
Rocky. I'm going to say it a few more times.
Oh, the guy from Philly's upset I brought up Rocky. Excuse me.
Rocky won.
Jenna, thank you very much, and best of luck to you. We'll see you again here.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again next week on the original Rochester Press Box.